Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Turf Sim. Yes, we have another amazing edition for you. Somebody who's been a friend of mine for a long, long time. He and I have gotten in lots of trouble together over the years and had a lot of fun, but also I've admired him for many years in terms of what he's accomplished at Pinehurst Resort. My friend Bob Farren. Bob, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you, Pat. It's a mutual admiration for one another and friendship that I've treasured 30 plus. I don't know how many years, but certainly great memories.
It's been a century or two. It is funny though, but no, it's been wonderful working with you and your team all the way back to the days with Brad Coker and just an amazing journey for all of us. And it's still fun. It's still fun every single day. So I'm excited because we're going to have a chance to have a conversation about what's been going on with you, but also talk a little bit about things in the past. And that's exactly where I'll start, which is it's just about 15 years ago to the month that I interviewed you in 2000, late 2009. And the subject was, oh, we're going to make some changes at Pinehurst, and we've hired Bill and Ben to come in, and we got some things we're going to do differently, and it was the craziest story ever. So that interview from 15 years ago, it was a precursor to an amazing story. I mean, just an amazing 15 years when you put it in
That question.
context. When you think back, when you think back about that time period, what word did you use to describe the journey that you've been on?
Had we only known, we uh, we really and truly, Pat, uh, as we went into that project, um, it was in hindsight, it was such a threshold and a milestone of Pinehurst, not just my career, but certainly
Yeah.
Pinehurst, but certainly my career, but Pinehurst, more importantly, we were coming, we were out still in the middle of the recession.
Yeah.
And number two, it become less and less relevant in what we could see the world being in the golf evolution.
Right.
Um,
Things were sort of changing around you.
yeah, they were changing around us a lot. Um, and reflecting back on that, we had the conversation. We had conversations beginning and during the U.S. Amateur in 2008. Um, People were critiquing, criticizing, if you will, or at least observing that course number two had lost much of the character that it had been known for back in the earlier days, and it was all due to improvements that we'd made on the golf course as we were developing the golf course from a U.S. Open perspective. We
Hmm.
worked, lockstep with the USGA on everything we did, and they would be the first to tell you that we were successful in doing that. But by 2008, it became obvious that we needed to do something to the course. So those conversations started in August of 2008. So then and I'm sure those conversations happened in a lot of other rooms that I wasn't in the meantime. But by the time we got to Bethpage to the U.S. Open in '09, uh, serious conversations were happening about what we could or should do, and it was pretty much decided by that time that anything we would do would be certainly with the blessings of the USGA
Hmm.
and the partnership and talent of Coore and Crenshaw. Almost to the point that this is just my viewpoint. I sense that certainly if USGA wouldn't have been on board with it, it would have been an issue. But more importantly, Coore and Crenshaw, we had enough of respect for them, Ben's historic perspective and Bill's talent and perspective. Had they said they weren't interested or that it shouldn't be done, then we likely may not have done it.
Interesting.
That's how much respect we gave Coore and Crenshaw in the aspect. So fast forward just a few months, we're getting started without really any specific plans, but just observations and trying to take small steps, which we continue to do.
Right.
And the result of it is what we have today.
So outside looking in, I always felt like the course had become more Augustaized over the years, white sand, perfect conditions, non-native species being introduced, things that didn't make sense. And that, but that was the trend in golf. And you're exactly right. That was a time at which nobody was quite sure what was going to happen to golf. But there was this sort of trend with abandoned dunes and sand hills and stream song and this whole idea of golf can be more. And I think that you guys sensed that and made it happen. So you've told me this story, and I know you've shared the story with other people about kind of one of the triggers for this was some photography that was sort of dropped on your desk one day. Tell the story about how you got a hold of some of those images from World War II.
Yeah. Well, first I'll respond too with that. You named Bandon Dunes and Sand Valley, Sand and the Sand Hills and all that. If you think of the common denominator between all those, they had no residential landscape
Yep.
associated with it, no
Yeah,
residential
very different.
need to build a golf course with the same level of beauty. It was more landscaping on a lot of communities, some beautiful golf courses,
Yep.
but it was built more from a real estate perspective. So then move back to your point with the photographs from the military photographs from 1943. We were making some progress with Bill and Ben. Bill contemplating this and asking Ben about it, and well, it looks like it may have been this or that, and just kind of going on their field for this first month or two
Hmm.
of removing turf. We ended up moving close to 40 acres removing. Um, but we knew there had to be some photography somewhere. Some of the stuff we had looked at was actually from like literally crop dusting plane. Someone goes up in an airplane, takes pictures.
Sure. That's the way it
Uh,
always used to.
we
That's the way it used to be before drones. You were lucky if you knew somebody that
exactly,
had a small plane or a helicopter.
exactly. So we were very fortunate um, to be made aware of a set of photographs that were taken by the military on Christmas Day of 1943. And that was a big time, right, in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things going on at Fort Bragg, which is a large military institution next door. So these images showed people. I mean, you could digitize them with literally with a camera and zoom in more and see people playing golf that day. So it was a beautiful, and it confirmed everything that Bill and Ben had contemplated in all their walking over those previous 6 weeks or so. It confirmed every idea they had.
Yeah.
So then we really had some traction on it. And then the other thing that Bill would point out was um, we started looking at all the changes we had made in irrigation over those um,
Hmm.
iterations of improving the golf course, adding irrigation, more overseeding and all. The center line irrigation, the center lines of the old irrigation were still there. So that gave them the skeleton of it, or the backbone of it. And from there on, it was getting it done.
It was really the return of center line maintenance and it made such a difference because it gave everybody a new way to look at a golf course. And now, 15 years later, and how many renovations have been done in this country on great golf courses, very much along those lines of we
Yeah,
want this to be perfect down the middle, but as you get to the edges, we're okay with it being a little grungier and a little
that's
more fun.
that's
And you guys
predictable.
started that.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was again, we learned so much from it, and it really set the stage for all of our future since then. The success of it, obviously, the financial success of it, the we came out of the recession. We did this work prior to, thank goodness, with the blessings of the Dedman family and their investments as stewards of the property.
Mhm.
Um, we went into it without those worries in mind, but it really set our traction for the future of building the cradle. I don't know what we would do without the cradle now.
Right. Right.
Uh, the complete rebuild and redesign with Gil Hanse on course number 4,
Yeah.
then number 10, and now number 11. So it's set the journey for us.
I remember well going to the double US Open in 14 and seeing number 4 being a big parking lot and hearing early plans about, well, we got Gil Hans coming in, we're going to do something. And that was pretty
Yeah,
special. But the whole thing, because I'm a marketer, right? I think in those
right.
terms a lot of times. The whole thing was a rebranding of Pinehurst and to some extent a rebranding of all of golf. I mean, I think that gets overlooked sometimes, the swallow hard, and we're going to try this decision that Mr. Dedman made, changed
Yeah.
golf forever.
And Mr. Devon's famous for saying to Mr. Paget, our president at the time, he told the media that day, media day, he was like, um, "This may be the dumbest decision I've ever made. It's going to be either really dumb or really bright. And if it's really dumb, it's Don Paget's decision. If it's bright, it's mine." So, but it could have gone either way.
Yeah,
But there was a lot of emotions and concern and worry about, how's this going to fit into the rest of the course? Because it's not with the rest
yeah,
of the property. And
yeah,
but it really paved the way for us to stop overseeding. We changed the whole dynamic of our business model with that one project.
yeah. It does show you how important agronomy is as a business practice and a branding factor that maybe a lot of agronomists don't think in those terms, but I think more do now than they used to. So that was the beginning of this blossoming, this rebirth of the cradle of American golf. And so as you think back over these 15 years, what were the lessons that you learned, or some of the rules that you and Mr. Paget and others kind of abided by as you were making decisions about what was the next right thing to do for Pinehurst?
Well, one, it was collaboration on a lot of parts and trying to be open minded to that. We certainly had to be open minded to Bill and Ben's vision for course number 2. And I'll give Kevin Robinson a huge shout out
Yep.
for his embracing the project and really being in the dirt and on the field with it to gain an understanding of what and how to let it evolve itself without being. And that was always Bill's point. Said just be patient, let things evolve, and we were able to do that without trying to overmanage it and force anything onto the landscape.
Yeah.
And we've cataloged 75 native plants that wanted to grow there after the turf was removed, and we removed the water, and that's been a sustainable project and management scheme since then.
Yeah, that was another thing you did is you worked with the university. You took it seriously, and it wasn't just kind of a showpiece. It was legitimately, let's get back to native species and let's showcase the sandhills for what they are, which is this giant arboretum of plants. And
Exactly.
no better place to go see them than at Pinehurst. What were some of the other accomplishments along the way? You talked about number 4, but then there was the Centennial course, and you were doing all these things kind of just on the momentum that had been built out of the relaunch of number 2. What were some of those other benchmarks along the way?
Well, the other benchmarks along the way was um, the cradle really opened up, and it coincided um, soon thereafter with the pandemic,
Mhm.
and the pandemic's a whole other topic we could spend an
Mhm.
hour on itself, and I'm sure everyone could. But um, it brought in the community of people. The cradle did that, a space, and introducing people to the game, and allowing us to present conditioning levels that were to their expectations and introduce people to what golf really was.
Hmm.
In that regard, a lot more people came into the game, um, and it's that whole trajectory. And at the same time, throughout the rest of the property, the renovations and restorations of the Carolina Hotel and so
Hmm.
many other investments, the Pinehurst Brewing Company, all that has happened not just because of number two necessarily, but at this same juncture, the last 15 years of what we've been able to do with the success of golf and the growth of it.
Yeah, it's just an astonishing story, and great to see all the people too that have been part of this too, with Kevin and John. Who are some of the other folks that maybe didn't get the articles written about them, but have been important parts of the Pinehurst success story, particularly from the agronomy standpoint in the last 15 years?
Well, there's so many; it's
I
hard
know
to
I
start
put you on the
naming.
spot. I'm sorry.
No, no, that's fine. No, you even gave me that question in advance, but I'm like, still, I can't do this, this, and this. But if you looked at collectively,
Yeah.
and I think it goes back to the culture of 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 what I've been very fortunate to be part of for these 40 plus years, going back with Brad Coker
Yeah.
and the leadership team at Pinehurst at that time, Brad and Beth Coker, Pat Corso, and I can
Yeah.
name several
Yep.
more. But the culture that we've been able to instill within our division specifically, right now we have just on our leadership team, our superintendents, just the superintendents, we have close to 200, I've counted them up, 240 years of experience between
Wow.
myself and John and Kevin and Steve Wilson. It's on number 7 course, has been
Steve,
30
yeah.
years.
Yep.
David Bogus at number 9. So those people all, and that speaks, I think, to the community as well. Those people have all decided this is where they want to be. Pinehurst, the culture of working at Pinehurst is important and embraced, and living in Pinehurst is even as much.
Yeah.
So this Pinehurst has grown from 3,000 people, Pat, when I moved here in 1982
Right.
to over 18,000 now. But we've
Including
managed to keep,
including 100 or so who work for the United States Golf Association.
and
So,
that's been
yeah, I mean,
incredible.
talk about what that's meant to have. I mean, not just the presence there, but the people and the opportunity to interact with them and the people coming and visiting. It's got to be a game changer for you.
Yeah, it really was. That was a long time coming relationship wise with USGA and the state of North Carolina,
Hmm.
and the state of North Carolina seeing the value in the U.S. Open Championships and the value in what golf means in the Carolinas. Um, um, to have the USGA develop us, identify us as the first anchor site is really good.
Yep.
You go back to the back-to-back U.S. Opens and what that meant to
I
the
wore this for
trajectory.
you today.
God bless you. That's great. Uh, so all of that said, um, for them to move the entire green section here,
Yeah.
and we have as well as their balls and equipment testing engineers.
Right.
We've built 8-acre site at the sand mines, where course number 10 is, for their outdoor testing
Oh,
pavilion.
good. That's great.
24 acres of turf. That's where they test the golf equipment outdoors, as well as some turf research that over time will happen there. So, but to have those guys just part of the community is wonderful, and they're all, certainly talent and resources and everything else you'd ever want there. And they didn't have a whole lot of trouble convincing people to move from New Jersey to
Yeah.
Pinehurst. I think they
Yeah.
had a pretty good recruiting level
Yeah.
of that and moving their staff. But it's great. And the Hall of Fame, the World Golf Hall of
Right.
Fame,
Right.
that was bonus. That wasn't even announced or discussed at the time when we announced the golf house. But I found it ironic that the first induction of the Hall of Fame was in 1974, So you fast forward 50 years, and it's
Yep.
come a whole circle back to
Yep.
the induction class of 24. So that was pretty neat.
Yeah, what a thing, and I'm a big fan of Mike Wan. I like pretty much everything he's done. And the one thing I know about Mike is he's a fan of golf course superintendents, and he gets it.
He is.
And not that his predecessors did not, but I think Mike gets it at a kind of a molecular level. He really does kind of understand it. And every time I talk to him, he asks more questions than I do, which I'm always impressed with. So now tell people that don't know, where is the USGA facility in terms of the Pinehurst Clubhouse and the Carolina Hotel and all that? Where does it sit?
If you're leaving the Carolina Hotel and you come down Carolina Vista and you come to the
Hmm.
small roundabout as you're approaching the Pinehurst Country Club and Members Club clubhouse, um, the USGA golf house is immediately as you come out of the circle. It's on your right, and the tennis facility is on the other side of the street. So
Okay.
that entire campus sits there.
What a thing. What a thing to see that whole
It's
thing
beautiful.
develop.
It's
So
really well done.
yeah.
And they're doing a really cool thing right now. Literally today, yesterday, there's 3 days this week. They've invited the fifth graders from every school in the county, so many of them each day. Not all of them at the same time, thank God. But they're inviting, I think it's classes, it's three sections of 15 each, three groups of 15, that they're coming out to do STEM presentations on the putting green, the Thistle Do putting course. And they go through the hotel, they see what food and beverage operations look like, they see what hospitality is.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we really look at it and we get a lot of traction out of that, of people in this community, to make them aware that this is a career. I was at a one of our senior leader meetings. It's been probably sometime last year. There were 40 of us in the room, and I asked those in there. We were talking about recruiting talent and retention and all that. And I said, raise your hand. Those of you in managing positions here at Pinehurst, raise your hand if you were born here and graduated from high school here. And out of the 40 of them, there were only like 6 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, that should be half of the room,
Right.
maybe, of people that see golf and hospitality as a true career instead of moving away and doing something. So I think maybe 10 years from now, you might see
I,
more of that if
I would
we have
hope
that
so,
outreach.
and I would hope that the Sand Hills Gap program is helpful in
That's a
that
good point.
respect. Just maybe tell people quickly how that came about and what it's intended to do.
But the GAP program, we were really thrilled to partner with and be engaged with the USGA on developing that. And it essentially is an apprentice program, just as you would be not an, as you would be certified as an electrician or a carpenter or a plumber, uh,
Hmm.
from a trades perspective. So it's essentially a trade school for golf course greenkeeping. So the class is 12 months. It's on the job training. You have to be a full time employee for 2,000 hours that year. You
Yep.
spend X amount of time in the classroom and in the workplace. You have mentors in the workplace, and you get a certification card at the end of
Yeah.
it that I'm a certified golf course greenkeeper.
Yeah.
And we hope that turns into service technicians in the near future,
Oh, good.
which is even more of a demand or as much of a demand for people. And that I don't think even as much as we would have loved to have been, initiated it and all that, I don't think that would have had as much traction had it not been for the USGA on that.
For sure. One of the kind of ironic tragedies has been at the time we need more community colleges than ever before. Most of them stopped offering degrees, 10, 12 years ago. We talked about the
Right.
recession and there were too many people and too many people with 4-year degrees and stuff. And like Lake City, those were Lake City, and then Sand Hills was kind of getting out of the business of doing
Mm-hmm.
that degree when this all happened. And it was great. And I hope we can do more of that around the country because those programs are critical.
Yeah, because we're recruiting down to in the high school level now with junior apprentices, junior
Yep.
gaps.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you ask counselors and high school guidance counselors or career counselors, I guess they're called now, when do students start making decisions about what they want to do or in life? And you have to reach down to the fifth grade, which is the reason USGA is here
Yeah.
doing what they're doing. You have to introduce that to youth in the fifth grade
Yeah.
in order for them to get on interested.
The first green program, I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, is the best thing that we've done
For
in a
sure.
long time, and it's so impressive. And I'm so glad to see that kind of extending now to high school kids as well, where it is a little bit in some areas, I know, where it's a little bit more of a recruiting thing, and I know that really works. So what do you tell? What do
I
you
think
tell
part of
when
our
you?
challenge I think part of our challenge on that is not convincing the youth as much as their parents.
Yeah, right, right.
You just say that's the point. You got to try to find a way to convince their parents that their children that they've always dreamed of going to college, they may not have gone to college, but convincing them that that's not utopia. That's just a career path.
Yeah.
So
Well, hopefully they'll listen to Mike Rowe and other people who talk intelligently
I love
about this.
micro.
Yeah, more
Yeah,
Mike Rowe. That's what we
yeah,
need. So yeah, the trend is right, and I do think parents are probably more open to this. But it's just nobody really has ever known what goes on behind those gates at that club. It's always been
right.
kind of a mystery, and it felt like it wasn't for average people to know or whatever. And that's
That's the difference.
changing, and I couldn't be happier. So
I
what
agree.
do you tell? So you get a chance to talk to young people. I know you've been involved with the Green Start Academy for years, and you get the opportunity to talk to young people who are considering this career or considering, do I want to become an assistant and make my way up? What advice do you give them now that maybe is a little different than you gave them 20 years ago?
But one is being patient. Don't not trying to talk them down from wanting to grow and have more compensation and all that, but to be patient and learn where you are at the time. Don't jump to other opportunities necessarily, but be patient um, and try to become part of the community and a sense of being in the community. That's I would think that would be the overlying thing I would try
Yeah,
to explain to them. There's so
yeah,
many things about being patient, uh, and then even the patience in the sense of your agronomy programs and things. Sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing when the grass is under a lot of stress. You just have
yeah,
to be patient and all that. So
yeah. That's a great point. I think because we've sold this profession well in some cases, the young people are like they want to have the title. It's a they have title mania. They want the title golf
right,
course superintendent, and they're willing to probably skip some steps that they shouldn't just to have that title. And I ran into a young man not too long ago who had gone through this and realized very quickly that he was by no means ready to be a golf course superintendent, even though he had that title, and took a step back. He took a step back. So, I think that that's we're kind of a victim of our own success in that respect of telling people, hey, your ultimate goal is to do this. But it also does come down to mentoring and that whole idea of finding somebody who's going to help you know what to do to get to the next level. That was the number one thing that came out of the study that Tyler Bloom and I did on assistant superintendents was they in many cases were changing jobs multiple times trying to find the right apprentice or trying to find the right mentor for them to
right.
follow. Is that makes sense? Is that the right thing to do?
That's I think it's spot on. I think you'll see. Uh, you mentioned Green Star. There's no better example of that,
Yep.
of the mentoring aspect than that. We have a program here internally at Pinehurst throughout the resort of mentors from other departments having mentors. I think we have 28 pairs of mentors, mentor and mentoree throughout the property that get to have some exposure to the other aspects of the hospitality and all that, which I think is pretty remarkable.
What's your internship situation? If people are interested in doing internships, are there opportunities to do that? And then, I should know this, what's your next big event?
The next big event, we have the Women's Open or the Women's Amateur. Then we have the 70, the 79, the 2029 U.S. Open again. We
Yep.
have, I believe John told me the other day, he really manages a lot of our interns and recruitment and stuff. Recruiting is hard. Uh, it's very competitive for the
Yeah.
interns right now. We've got 12 coming, I think, this year. The housing and all that is all the obstacles in the path of getting interns.
Yep.
But I have to give John credit for one quote he mentioned, and maybe it was in an article or he and I were just having a conversation about Green Start. But he spent the first 15 years learning to grow grass, but he's spent the last 15 years growing people, and that's what you want. That's
I
what
like that
you
quote a
want
lot.
your leaders. That's what you want your leaders' mentality to be, right? That's growing people,
Yeah.
and I think that speaks a lot for John, but I think it gives also um, up and coming assistant superintendents that find someone that's in that mode of wanting to help grow people.
Yep.
Then as you continue to grow, pay it forward and go back and help someone else, and always be willing to do that.
It- exactly. That's exactly right. And you guys, you've got such good people there. It's just
Oh
amazing to
yeah,
have thoughtful human beings who are there because sometimes ego gets in the way. And I just
well,
I,
that's the culture. That's what I was talking about with Brad. Back to Brad, but that was a culture of, and it remains to be the culture of helping one another. We're all going to succeed together um, with one another, and it goes back to Colonel John Morley's
right.
uh, phrase. I mean, it's really inherent in our DNA to be that, and I
Yeah.
think that's why success that we've had, fortunately, is based on a lot of it.
The Morley quote, which I love, it reminds me of Benjamin Franklin's famous quote when they signed the Declaration of Independence. And he said, "Well, gentlemen, we must all hang together, or most assuredly we will hang separately."
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So no, it's such a small business, and I tell people this all the time. And I throw your name around, and I'm sorry if you get phone calls you don't want to get because of it. But I always tell people, I'm young people, I'm like, if you want to know what the opportunities are in this industry, find Matt Schaefer's phone number, find Bob Farren's phone number, find, Mark Coons, people that have been there and done that. And they'll be happy to offer you their perspectives and advice. And I think you are a good example. You understand the change and kind of philosophy, and it kind of gets wrapped up sometimes in this phrase of work-life balance, which
Yeah,
I think gets
exactly.
it doesn't really describe what it is, but it's a reality. How do you talk about that when young people come to work for you and you say, look, you could probably have to work 60 hours a week sometimes. That happens occasionally.
Yeah.
How do you respond to this idea of creating good work-life balance in the Pinehurst workplace?
Well, that's good. I think that's one of the part of our culture that we've been intentional about. I think for decades
Mhm.
of before it became a great phrase of work-life balance. I never knew what to call it at that time. I've written a book about it, and I would be hanging out somewhere else probably.
Exactly.
But uh, but it really gives you, it's refreshing to be able to know that and know that's your expectations of to have success. But for so long, parts of our industry, both in the golf course, the agronomy side, as well as the golf professional side, maybe the golf professional side even worse,
Yeah, right.
of their apprentices or assistant professionals that they just work into the ground, uh, 70 hours a week, weeks on end. That's not sustainable. That's not attracting people to the career. It's not enabling them to have family life and be happy and be well-rounded people. And And I've told our guys, they understand that if you need to go to a softball game, you need to go to soccer practice, you absolutely have to go
Yeah.
and set the example for those your assistants and interns or what have you. That's important. Uh, and don't it drives me nuts sometimes when I'm with colleagues in the industry show or what have you, and they talk about how many hours they've worked, the last 3 months. I'm like, if you've done that, don't tell people. You're never going
Yeah.
to have people wanting to work in the industry if you do that. And I
Yeah.
understand there's projects and there's issues and stress times that you do. I'm not putting myself above
But
that.
it's not something to brag about. It's not a
It's
good
not something
idea.
to brag.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I used to
I
tell
think the
people,
I think our industry's changed. I think we're much better place now than we were 10 years ago,
for sure.
certainly 20 years ago.
For sure. Well, I think
Yeah.
we had to. I don't think this idea of, the 100 days of hell in the summertime and the kind of old school, almost military culture
Mm-hmm.
of you're a platoon, I'm the general, you do what I tell you.
Yeah.
I don't think that was serving us well, and I do like the fact that we've evolved. One of the most interesting things about the Tyler Bloom study that we did was asking assistants, "What's your ultimate outcome? What do you aspire to when you get your first job as a golf course superintendent?" And the options were host a major, become president of the chapter, be at a top 100 course, all of these other things. And the one they chose, almost 2-1 over everything else, was creating a good, healthy workplace culture where my employees like to come and show up for work every day.
Well, that's pretty good.
I know, I know. I,
And
I, I,
that's
I
going to
was,
enable you to do all that other stuff.
yeah,
That's the whole idea.
that's exactly right. That's exactly right. But well, I know you've been doing that now for a long time. Son of a superintendent, wandered into Pinehurst 45 years ago.
Yeah.
You had one little thing, one little moment where you left and then you came back. But other than that,
Left.
you've been part of the Pinehurst story for
Yeah.
for 45 years.
It's a good run. I left for 9 months, but makes you appreciate it that much more when you leave and
Right,
come back.
right. Just remarkable. So at some point, you're going to walk out the door of that great office right there and go home and 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 give up this amazing career
Yeah.
and do
Yeah.
something else. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? You want to just you and Kathy just want to go travel? What do you want to like be still part of the world of golf and go teach, or what would you like to do?
I've given it a thought over time. Sometimes I think about it more. Some days I think about it
I
more than
bet.
others.
I
After
bet.
last
Yeah.
year, so many people after the U.S. Open in 24, everyone assumed I had retired after that, and they would run into me like, "I thought you retired." I'm like, "No, no, no, no." But I continue to enjoy what I'm doing. I feel like I'm contributing. If I feel whenever, and the day will come when I feel like I'm not uh, uh, contributing as much as I would like to be and involved in much, but we would have a lot of things in mind to do. But Kathy and I enjoy traveling now
Yeah.
as we can. She's her greatest assets. She would tell you, or she's a queen of hospitality. She loves to have people at the house, at her pool, watch parties out at the grill during
Yep.
football and basketball season, wherever the case is. And most importantly, she's a professional grandmother. She
Yeah.
spends 4 days a week traveling back and forth either to Raleigh or to Asheville, keeping grandchildren. We've gone on a couple of cruises, went to Alaska,
Yeah.
went on a rail cruise to Canada. That was awesome. Most
Oh.
recently, right after the conference in Orlando, we went on a Nate Bargasky, the clean
Oh
comedian.
yeah. Right.
We went on a comedy cruise
Oh, cool.
for 3 days, and that was a blast.
That
So
sounds like
we
pure
find
fun. That's a great
we
idea.
find ways to travel some and stay engaged in everything else that we're doing. So it's a lot of
Well, I
fun.
predict there will be a moment where the lure of the grandchildren will outweigh the lure of Pinehurst for
I
you?
don't know. After spending like a weekend with the grandchildren, I'm like, man, I got to go back to work
Oh,
to
come
rest.
on.
I
You
don't
love it.
want a
You
full,
know
a
that.
steady
They
diet. No,
do
I'm kidding.
they do wear your ass out though, don't they?
They do.
So,
But I love them
well,
all. We're so proud of them, all of them, and all their adults are responsible adults and great parents too.
that's
So
good. That's
we're
good.
blessed
But
in
that's the
so many
best thing
ways.
about being a grandparent is you get to do stuff with them and then hand them back.
Exactly.
So,
So a
okay,
lot of
so
fun.
so final thoughts. What do you want people to know about you and your beautiful career that you've had in this business? What do you want people to know and to think about you as you move forward?
Uh, I think I'd like for them to think about me as being fair and uh, fair with people. And I think if you say he is a strong Christian, that answers everything else you need to be. You're fair to people, you're engaging, you're loving, you're responsible. That accounts for a lot of it. I've had a great success here agronomically and managing people and seeing opportunities and making sure that we seize those. But I think that I treated people fairly and was able to influence a significant number of people's lives, whether they're our
Yeah.
superintendents or in the workplace. That I've set a good example of that.
Well, fairness, family, and faith sounds like a pretty good
That's it.
combination to me.
Exactly. Exactly.
Bob, you passed the turf Zoom test, buddy. You made it through. You held yourself up well, and but I really appreciate your time, and I know that people are going to enjoy hearing this from you. And again, I'm going to keep encouraging people to call you and get advice because I really do think you're one of the great leaders in this industry and one of the great people. And I'm very proud to count you among my friends and to thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Pat. It's always great to catch up with you. We look forward to having you down here to see the USGA and everything else soon.
I got to do it. I'm sorry. I've been
You got to do
terrible. I
it.
got to get back down there. I promise I will.
All
I
right.
promise. So thank you.
Thanks.
And thanks to all of you for joining us for yet another Turf Soon. Have a good day, Bob.
All right. Take care. God bless. See you.